Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Taylor. I am a professional A-licensed coach, activist, technical advisor, consultant, and the content co-captain for Women in Soccer. And today I'm joined by two amazing women, Courtney and Maggie, who are also a part of the Women in Soccer network. And today we will be discussing how to increase the marketability and opportunities for women. So hello, Courtney. Hello, Maggie.
Hi.
Hello.
So Courtney is the founder of our Women in Soccer group, and that will be launching on November 11th. And we're so very excited to have that happen. We've been working on it for a very long time. The overall arching vision for Women in Soccer is to connect all women who love this beautiful game. And whether you're on the field as a coach or cheering from the stands, whether you work in the business in the front office, whether you want to get into the business, or if you're a passionate change maker, our network is here to support you. And at the end of the conversation, we'll tell you how to get involved, how to sign up. So as we get started, I'm gonna have Maggie and Courtney introduce yourselves, and we're gonna start with Maggie before we dive into all the great suggestions and opportunities to help grow this game for women. So Maggie?
Hello, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Maggie Ntim. I am the CEO, the founder of Trinity 3 Agency, as well as a FIFA and USSF sanctioned agent. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this opportunity. A huge advocate for women in soccer, a huge advocate for women in sports. So I'm just excited to be here.
Thanks, Maggie. We are happy to have you, and you're definitely a rock star. So keep doing what you're doing to help all women with the game. Courtney, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And Maggie, yes, and she's also on our board, everybody. So ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot that.
There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Carrie Taylor. She'll be the voice of Women in Soccer. She'll be running the podcast. So get used to hearing her voice and diving into the topics that women in soccer want to talk about. And we've learned a lot about that, haven't we, ladies? I'm diving into Creatives Network with this team of women to really address the need for community that is supported and supporting women in soccer specifically. And this has been a long journey as a former player, coach, sports psychologist, now parent, documentary filmmaker, and now really connector and bridge builder by helping orchestrate building this network that unites and builds bridges to all of the different networks of women who are working in the game and want to see new candidates come into these spaces and mentor and hold the door open for others. And I certainly want to do that now, as that's been done for me. And I look at the network and using technology in this platform that we're able to create as a way to increase the number of women participating in the game, and that ultimately building this community that creates pathways into the industry for women to follow.
Well, thank
you for having me.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. We are definitely thankful to Beyond Sport, and we will definitely thank them throughout this. And it's a wonderful platform, and their 2-day symposiums that are going on in October and into November. It's a great connector for men, women, everyone within all sports, but within our sport, particularly with soccer. Before I dive into reading some statistics, I was just reflecting on all of the titles and all of the roles that even just the three of us can say about ourselves. And I started to get chills because, you know, that's the proof that women can be agents, women can be sports psychologists, women can, you know, coach professionally. And you can do it while having children and a family and all of that. And so I think that's one thing that, you know, we hope within Women in Soccer to to help others understand that like you can be anything and you can do anything within this great sport. And that kind of takes us into some of the statistics that were brought up yesterday that I want to start with before we kind of come up with some solutions on how to improve the stats. But some things I learned yesterday, that only 4% of media coverage goes to women's sports. Now that needs to change. Only 1% of sports sponsorships go to women's sports. And I know, Maggie, you're going to touch upon that and how to change that. Within the National Women's Soccer League, there's only currently one head coach. There's an interim head coach, and we hope that she gets that interim tag taken off soon. And then also, I pulled some stats from the number of women within the US that hold coaching licenses. So within the US, and this was taken from FIFA report done in 2019, of the 172,000 licensed coaches, that's anywhere licensed within US soccer, as far as like across all the different levels, only 21,000 are females. So that's 12%. If you take that to referees, of the 140,000 licensed referees, 32,800 are women. So that percentage is a little bit better. There's 24% women represented within referees. And within this FIFA report, if you go country to country, it's almost the same stats. So, you know, Jamaica, which is just, you know, to our south, they only have 3% of their licensed coaches as women, and 14% of their licensed referees are female. So the numbers, we all know, need to change. Courtney, why don't you start us off on, you know, one way or one or two ways that you think that we can change those numbers, and how we as women can open the door to that change.
Well, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. And yeah, those stats are rather discouraging from the outside, right? On the inside, when I look at the women who are making up these stats and the profile of personality and leadership styles that they share, I'm very optimistic about what is capable when we decide to create our own pathways that lead to, you know, creating candidates for top level positions. There is no clear track for a coach to enter the NWSL. It's not a system that is investing in nurturing new talent. So we have to make sure that the women who are in these positions and are creating incredible mobilization of networks within the areas that they're coaching or running clubs or being entrepreneurial with how they deliver the game, right? Supporting them and making sure that they stay there and don't leave working in the game. Because right now we can put them through the network, we can put them in a visible position and amplify what they're doing and allow members to connect directly with them, to see what's capable that they can maybe bring into their own community and do some of the things that women are actually doing already in the field. We're just so independent of each other and spread out and exhausted, because we've been doing the work that's been creating the leaders, that's pushing and knocking on the door, and we want to create opportunities for them. And the way to do it is to connect with each other and spearhead things that share resources and drive you know, coaching courses and take barriers away from other areas of the industry that have are either invisible or visibly, you know, closed to us. And that's not something that's made up, right? Like a bias in how sport, and specifically soccer, is delivered to women has been with a biased lens that we wouldn't come through, that we can't produce, that's not worth investing in. And look what happened when we decided we didn't need somebody to tell us how much we're worth. And here we are in this culture of a 4-star World Cup legacy that says something. And now we're in a position where enough women have gone into different parts of the industry and created new parts of the industry on their own through an entrepreneurial spirit and a love of the game that they know connects people, right? Now here we are where it's an even more exciting time to do it on our own terms. Like, we have people who can, you know, run coaching courses and lead workshops on, you know, investing, on becoming an agent, on, right? Like, so many experts that can lend their voices and their faces to show us what they've been doing. And let me tell you, the journey to getting us to this place of organizing the women in the different places throughout the country has been continually like the thing that gives me fuel and excites me, because it's what will change the game and change the culture and change the professionalization of the industry for women.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all of what you said, Courtney, amen, sister. I think the key word that I hear you say and that I keep coming back to, and I know Maggie probably believe this too, is that feeling of connection. Because as experts, as professionals, oftentimes we're the only women in the room, we're the only women in the meeting, we're the only female agent, we're the only female coach. And so we are in these silos, and oftentimes when you face challenges, you don't know who to go to, you don't know who to ask advice of, you don't know who to vent to. And you know, that's the beauty of women in soccer is, you know, uniting people together, uniting with other organizations. Like in the UK, they have women in football, and just creating that connection so that we can support, open the doorway, keep women coming through the doorway, and keep women walking up the stairs to the penthouse suite, rather than just staying, you know, at the lower levels per se.
Right.
So Maggie, I was trying to look up some research on brands and who they sponsor, whether they sponsor women, men, sports, and looking at all of that. And, you know, I basically believe that 1% number that we heard yesterday, about 1%, you know, is spent on women in sports sponsorships. So my question to you, with all of your knowledge and expertise, is how do we increase the marketability of female athletes, female coaches, just females within the game of soccer?
Absolutely. I mean, when I hear the percentages, right, it's like Courtney said, it's very discouraging. But before, I used to always get frustrated and get upset when I hear those numbers. And now it fuels the fire in me to really say, okay, let me unite with my fellow women within the sport of soccer, and let's get to work. Let's get to work. When you talk about 4% of media, I mean, the media side ties into that sponsorship side. If there's not enough awareness, how are brands going to know and say, okay, we need to women's sports. We need to invest more into women's soccer in particular. 1% is a low number. The sponsorship industry is a $66 billion industry.
With a B?
With a B.
Oh,
billion.
wow. Okay.
And out of the sponsorship industry, When you talk about the
Yeah.
other industries that the sponsors decide to sponsor, which industry do you think sponsorship dollars are mostly spent on? If you had to take a guess, which category or industry, I would say. So we're talking like entertainment, sports, finance, which industry, if you had to take a guess?
If I had to take a guess, I would say NFL.
Okay. So in other words, you're saying sports.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
So guess what? About $30 billion of the 66 goes towards sports sponsorships.
So almost half.
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost half. And then if you look at those numbers and look at how many are even broken down into women's sports, it's below 10%.
Right.
Obviously, we're talking about 1%, right? Mm-hmm. So now, with all of that, you would think, okay, let's put our money into women's sports, because really and truly, although men are watching NFL and they're watching some of these other sports, it's women that are going out and buying those tickets and going to those games. It's women that are watching it. We're diehard fans just as much as men are, probably even, a lot harder if you think about it.
That's why I chose that one, because I feel like they've done a really extraordinary job of being able to market to women.
Exactly.
And if there's somebody, if it's a woman who's finally saying we're going to market to women, and it's an intention to understand what drives them, right? It's building on that sense and bringing it into the soccer space. And I want women fans to see themselves as women in soccer, the same way a female football fan would be like, we build our families' lives around this, right? And they see themselves as like identifying with that culture. And boy, has the investors been rewarded with a woman's economic empowerment and, like investment in buying the jammies every year that say Packers on them, no matter what. And that in Europe being what soccer is, right? So, I'm trying to look at the numbers as an opportunity, right? Like an opportunity to try some things to land some things in a different way, to see if it even dials that number, a little bit, to see if we can engage, because that number is saying something about the engagement of women seeing themselves in the soccer industry, whether as coaches or behind the camera or as a physical therapist So changing that perspective by showing women and using the Women in Soccer platform and podcasts and different mediums so that they can see Maggie and that they can connect to her and ask her questions about the path to where she was, and also the athletes she represents, and how that's a whole new area. And even this podcast of using this new platform to discuss things that women in soccer and women who love soccer want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Maggie, how specifically can you give an example? Because I'm learning about sponsorships and marketability of players as I go along. Like how do you help your clients either gain sponsorships, or how do you work with clubs specifically to connect businesses and things like that? Can you kind of tell us some about that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, just even my process alone, signing players is like rigorous, right? It's almost like a job application, but a strict one. Because there's just certain requirements that I look for when I'm signing a player. Obviously, if that player is marketable, so it's a full assessment prior to bringing them in. And this is the same thing that brands do. And this is what I learned even just from my previous experience in marketing, was just to always do that assessment of, whatever it is that's coming in front of you, whether it makes sense to sponsor it or to invest in it. 'Cause at the end of the day, as an agent, you know, when you're working with a player, even though you work for the player, you're still investing your time and you're investing that, you know, everything that you have to make sure that the athlete wins. And so an example of that is a brand partner of mine, Voss Water. We were brainstorming on things to do. We had several experiential activations that were planned out for different sports. And of course, the global pandemic came in and hit. And mainly, so now it's time to shift. Most people are panicking. They're not sure what they're going to do. I'm a person, my brain is like, it just goes. So right there and then it's like, how do we tie in, you know, this, I mean, you could call it tragic because of what it is, right? As far as the pandemic. But how do we find the good in it? How do we find the good in it? And so part of my agency, we specialize in charities and foundations. And I said, okay, Voss Water, here's the idea. How do we help those in need? So we then brainstormed and came up with a campaign for COVID where we would give back to all of the frontline workers, the essential workers from the hospitals, everywhere from New York City, Los Angeles, Italy, France, England, Canada. But we said, okay, let's work with these celebrities and different influencers that are usually out there that you'll see promoting the brand, but let's tie in the more charitable side. And so one thing that Voss Water has never done is worked with, they've never worked with artists or athletes in terms of soccer athletes. So my job was then to say, okay, let's do something different. And let's also bring in different organizations for it. So I then brought in Midge Purse, you know, U.S. women's national team, Sky Blue Ford. And and so, you know, I reached out to her and we kind of went back and forth about it. And she's big on just doing work in the community and she loved it. And so Voss Water loved her and they were like, yeah, let's do this deal. Let's get this deal done. And let's also have her, you know, execute the, you know, activation. And the turnout was amazing. It was amazing for her because she's never had that opportunity before. And anyone that knows when you're talking about pairing an athlete with a brand like Voss is like premium, right? So it's like, that's not easy. On a regular day, it probably would have been tough for her to just do the outreach herself, or, you know, she has someone from her team that can do it. And so for me, it was important to bring her in as well as a few other athletes. And it showed a different side. It made Voss Water say, okay, post-COVID, we want to do more work within soccer. We want to start doing more work within sports. We want to start doing more work with entertainers because we've now been exposed to a whole different side. And especially having someone that understands both sides makes it a lot easier because usually it's always one-sided. And that's something that's key, you know? And so for a lot of athletes, you know, something that they can do to even raise their profile or even get the attention of a brand is know and understand that you're a brand yourself and you're not just a brand on the field, but off the field. It's very important. And one of the biggest ways is to use your platform. And by using your platform, that's social media. You know, I see a lot of players, women, soccer players, mainly the national team. So you'll see they have tons of followers. But most people just know them because they're on the national team or either they follow their career. But you have some girls that are not a part of the national team that have amazing brands off the field because they're just doing so much in their community. They're doing so much that all of that are stories that need to be told. And brands are looking for that. Brands are looking for that. So the more you put yourself out there, and it could be a post a week, a post a day. It could be something as simple as you turn vegan and you're eating at, you ordered Beyond Meats or something like that. Even that, you know, tagging Beyond Meats, that's a way to even get the attention of the brand because the brand is now saying, oh, when I didn't know that this person became, read, and this may be a good story to tell. So it's really using your platform in that way. And that, you know, that also helps by engaging the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I cannot wait till you do a webinar on how to build your brand for not only for players on women in soccer. I'm going to hold you to it, Maggie. You're going to do a webinar on how to build your brand.
Yes.
Not only for players, but also for coaches, because that was the one thing, again, that I'm learning is in my last job with a men's professional soccer team, all of the other male coaches that are out there have agents. And here I am going, I've never had an agent. I've never even thought about having an agent. And like, you know, we as women need to also understand that there are things that men do to get themselves ahead that we can also do. So one of the best things that I ever did, Maggie, was you allowed me to be one of your clients. So
absolutely, like, my first coach client, and I'm so truly honored, because even Carrie's a prime example, right? When you see her in you know what she's done within the USL, it's never been done. It's never been done. So she's a trailblazer in that sense, and that's a story that needs to be told. And especially with what she has coming in the future, it's like, wow, this is the path that Carrie took, and it's different, but it's great. It's great. You know, Courtney, when women read about you and what you've built with women in soccer, and of course with Rachel and the rest of the team, it's like, wow. So these women are showing me that I can do it and not be afraid, even though it's a male-dominated industry. You know, and Carrie, Carrie, you brought up a good point.
Through it, right?
Absolutely, and you brought up a good point before about the pathways, because even as an agent, there's no pathway for a female agent. There's really no pathway.
You're feeling it out instinctually,
it's like,
and now you'll like create this template based on your experience,
that's it.
And you'll be able to share this knowledge for people who see themselves as that very, I mean, it's a very, you know, it's an intimate relationship, you know, and it's about the coach and the player putting themselves in a position of expert, and then believing that they deserve it. And there's a lot of deconstruction, you know, mentally, that women are often, you know, very self-sabotaging about. And how great is it, especially when they're doing it by themselves, and how great to feel empowered by somebody who is in the knowledgeable like space, trying to make you some money. And I become mobile, create mobility,
build a legacy, build a legacy on and off the field. That's my model.
To be experts and to invest in our expertship, and when I'm not an expert in knowing how to go and secure these kinds of contracts or get them meetings, like, having somebody who knows how to do that for women, and specifically in this soccer space, is again a whole new industry within the industry that the community of women inside of this membership network will effortlessly support, because the bond is soccer and the game. And that key that you're talking about with Voss being like, whoa, this social responsibility game is legit, right? And all of these young athletes and players are on the front lines of it. And so making sure that athletes are engaging in their platforms with brands who are going to align with them, right? And not be like an odd, you know what I mean? Like they're driving the brands to be better. And now we get to see that and hold them accountable.
Yep.
Yeah, I think one key thing, Maggie, that you said was that understanding that like you open the door for Midge and open the door for the sponsor. And if the stats aren't, don't fail us, 85% of the purchasing power is in the female pocket. And, I think it was probably 2019 when Luna Bar, I think they came out and gave a chunk of money to the U.S. women's national team during like the pay dispute. And you know what? I don't even like Luna Bar, but I went and bought some Luna Bars because they supported the women. And I mean, I don't want to repeat that I don't like Luna Bars, but I literally was like, I'm going to buy that brand because they just stuck up for the women's national team. And so, I'm not a marketer. I'm not, I don't negotiate sponsorship deals, but I am a consumer and I know where I will put my money. And I think, once those connections are made that Maggie, that you're doing, like, it's only going to explode because, the numbers don't lie. The NWSL viewership was up 496%. Not 4%, 496%. And once it's accessible and more visible and more women are coaching, more women are in front office, all of that, like the purchasing power, the sustainability of the leagues, the growth of the leagues, the success not only within the US but nationally is going to explode. Like the
numbers have to increase. It has to, right? And it will. I think, when we talk about even the head coaching, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. I mean, for anyone that wants to know that, just ask me the question on Twitter and I'll be sure to start a thread on that one.
Well, I think we're on the
we
mark
just need to increase that. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, but there needs to be more. And I think with these next few expansion teams, hopefully we'll see that. I think the trend, I mean, even if they say, okay, a head coaching position, should go to whomever, this guy, then that gentleman should say, okay, I want my assistant coach to be a female. I want my assistant coach to be a woman. I mean, I've seen that with like Houston Dash. I love that dynamic because at least it's, you have your male as the head coach, you have your woman as the assistant coach. So we need more of that. And then of course we love what Freya is doing with Sky Blue being, kind of like blazing the trail for other women, but we just want to see more, we just want to see more. And even within the league office, we want to see more. We want to see more women. I mean, it's only right. The women need women to
Women need GMs who are.
Yes, we need more GMs like
who are
Elise.
going to have their best interest.
They need more women agents that can vouch for them, right? Because at the end of the day, we're a woman. So when we go through our needs, we have different emotions. That's who we are. We're women. And I'm not saying anything against men, but I'm just saying, let's be honest. Like my women players call me. We talk about any and everything. We hang out, all of that good stuff. Business is business, but it's more of like a sisterhood. It's a sisterhood. Right. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is just my agent and we just talk about business and that's it. No, it's a sisterhood. I also offer that hand. And I offer that hand for my men players as well. So my men players look at me as like the big sister or the auntie. It's like, she's going to fight for me. She's going to fight for me. It's like, Maggie's your agent? She's going to fight for you, Right. So it's just as, as we continue to grow with women in soccer, and I'm just excited, man. I'm as you guys can tell.
We're so pumped. Yes. To have you linking in this space to really lead its growth, right, and its expansion for what it truly can be. That's the profile that so many women working in soccer have, right?
Yeah.
And it's a real entrepreneurial spirit that drives new things to happen within the industry, but and ways to bring the game to more people. And when I think about all of the things that this generation of players that you're representing, one thing that speaks very loudly from them is this need to want to give back and hold the door open. And when they go into coaching, those pathways into like a coaches across continents, right? Like Carrie, you see a track to bring in the game, to a whole new population that you didn't even know you were going to be working with once upon a time, right? And the power that the game has in that setting, and the pathway into coaching, into the club system, having it so that it's not such a daunting and long process that hasn't really told us how it will lead us to a job. We're already in a position to constantly advocate for ourselves. So having a network that can help support that effort, so that we can sometimes take a deep breath and chill and watch the game, right? But again, the numbers still require a vigilance to really push women into this space, with that bridge that's going to, spark something that they want to participate in. And really, like giving women that community that represents them, where they see themselves in it, that supports their goals and ideas, and resources, and then connects them to other women in soccer. That's the function of the network. And the
absolutely, Courtney,
in there will create new opportunities that we don't even know exist yet.
Yep, absolutely, Courtney. So I don't mean to cut you off, but we will have plenty of time to talk through all of our mission, all of our wonderful people will announce who are on our board and who are doing great. Thank you so much to Maggie. If you're interested in how to join
Thank you, ladies,
us in Women in Soccer, follow us on our social media. We're also on Facebook. We have a website. Again, we're officially launching November 11th. And I just want to give a special thank you to Beyond Sport. Thank you for this opportunity to help spread the word for us. And thanks for all you do for the sport community. And I'm excited to work alongside and with both of you, and the passion.
Likewise, I'm excited as well.
The passion that the two of you have, along with the other great women and allies that are already connected with women in soccer, inspires me every day. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Carrie.
And we'll
see everybody. We'll see everybody on the 11th.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening, and take care.
Thank you.
Bye.